Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the VinDawg Pod. Now, as you can see, today's kind of special. I got my Bass Pro Shop, so it's like fraternity vibe, but I also got the Taylor Swift shirt, so we're rocking with everybody today. You know what? Today we're gonna talk about some stuff relating to the Pac-12, like I guess now the Pac-4, but for the most part, we're gonna be doing power ranking. Today, the power ranking day. We're power ranking every single position that you have at UW. And first and foremost, of course, we'll do some weekly updates, but I got to golf later, so I'm kind of in a time constraint, so we're going to rip this through before I golf, get things going. If that's why it seems like I'm rushed, that's why, right? Because I got to golf. I might miss my tee time. I would hate to miss my tee time, but at the same time, I got to get the content to you guys, so it's not a worry. I'm not worried about it. We're going to kick right into it today. First and foremost, weekly update. The Pac-12 is the Pac-4. I mean, Wazoo, Oregon State, Stanford, and Cal are kind of screwed. We saw the rest of those teams go to the Big 12. Good for them. That'll be a fun move. I think the Big 12 now has 18 teams. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong for all I know. But what happened to those four teams? We saw a report with the ACC. Funny enough, when Pac-12 wanted to expand a couple years ago, USC and UCLA were the ones that said no, and then they ended up leaving. Right now in the ACC, it's Florida State and Clemson that are saying, no, we don't want to expand. But you know how that might work. We thought with the Pac-12, would they end up leaving? Who knows? If anything, that could be good. If Wazoo, Oregon State, Stanford, and Cal can find their way into another conference, we really hope they do. But I mean, who knows? At this point, who knows? Uh, we just saw today that the Pac-12 turned down an offer from the ESPN. Let's talk about that real quick. ESPN reportedly offered $30 million a year per school in a media deal to the Pac-12, and the Pac-12, being the geniuses that they are, they said no. We want more money. Give us $50 million a year. That's right. The Pac-12 demanded for $50 million a year, and the ESPN practically laughed in their face and spit in their face and said goodbye. I mean, first and foremost, I don't know why we felt like we needed to go from 30 million to 50 million. If we're going to try to negotiate, maybe let's go to 40 million, 35. Like, I mean, 30 is a good number. Like 30 is a very good number. That's what UW's going to make, like what, 35, 40 million, something like that for being in the Big 10. So 30 is a good number. So the fact that they just totally got canned by ESPN for trying to jump to 50, that just kind of shows you the, I guess, idiocity that is going on in the Pac-12. Pac-4 now, by the way. Yeah, so, I mean, what would ESPN look like with a Pac-12 deal? I think that could have been kind of fun. I don't know if that would have been like an ESPN Plus subscription, but I would have been happy with it. I mean, anything beats Pac-12 network, right? So that would have been interesting. Unfortunately, of course, that never prevailed. That never went to go through. So now you're just stuck with what we have right now. And then another big thing that's kind of making waves. What does realignment mean for other sports? I'm talking about like the Olympic sports, everything outside of football. Softball players in the Pac-12, Oregon players I've seen are very upset, obviously, with this Big Ten deal and what it means for them, especially as they have to travel. I mean, I feel for them. They're going all the way to the East Coast at times. They're going to the South. They're gonna have a lot of traveling going on in conference play. And I remember, when I was covering the softball team, one of those big things, like before they started conference play, was how much travel they had to do. And they ended up losing a couple games. For example, they lost to McNeese State because, I mean, it was just constant travel. All of a sudden, they have a game on a Monday. It's just there's a lot of things that aren't working out. So there's a lot of fear among those Pac-12 softball players that, hey, travel is definitely not going to look good for us. How are these athletes going to handle it? I really do not know. I mean, even from my perspective of being in media, I already think it's going to be a hassle. For example, how is the Daily at UW going to be able to get people to go cover these sports? Like, they're just not going to be able to. Same with every other like media organization. It's like, what are they going to be able to do when teams are miles and miles and miles away, right? I mean, we're talking thousands of miles of travel like every week at this point. So obviously, athletes aren't in a very good spot. That's going to be really unfortunate. Hopefully, hopefully something goes in someone's way to figure something out, but I don't know. That'll be tough. What are some potential solutions? One of the ones that's making ripple effect waves right now is to separate football conferences from the rest of the Olympic sport. And that makes a lot of sense to me. How come UW can't be in the Big Ten in football association, and then the rest of our Olympic sports, they can just stay in the Pac-12 or whatever conference that might, end up being. Um, Obviously, the athletes are kind of screwed here. Universities love to make a big deal about how important like student athlete mental health is and stuff, and all this is doing is jamming them into the ground face first and kicking them on the head while they're down. So like it's I don't know. It's all crazy. It's all ridiculous. But hopefully that's something that they're going to be able to figure out. I'm very curious to see how that'll go, especially in these coming years. I think that you're going to see this season when you finish Pac-12 play, like basketball, softball, those sports. You're going to kind of see just how much they enjoy staying in the Pac-12 this year, and then they're going to realize, oh, in 2024, when we have to move to the Big Ten, when we have to play these other teams, when we have to go to Wisconsin, when we have to go to Ann Arbor, when we have to do all these things, it's going to take a toll on our athletes. So I'm very curious to see how things will change. Obviously, there's a lot of time, so who knows? But yeah, as far as we know right now, that could be a whole thing. Anyway, so today I'm not even doing a betting segment because, like I said, I gotta get golfing. I gotta do better than I golfed recently because I don't know why golfing is just gonna be a constant topic. My own golfing every time I do this podcast, but who cares? You guys are gonna have to deal with it because you chose to watch me. Whatever. We're gonna do some Pac-12 positional rankings today. We're doing quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, and defensive backs. So all those 7 categories, I'm going to be ranking each Pac-12 team where they stand in said category. And then at the end, I'm going to do a complete overview and we'll look at the average rankings for each team. And the result may surprise you. Let's get things started. And first and foremost, what I did to get these rankings, I went through every team's depth chart, which took hours and hours and hours. When I came up with the idea, I didn't think it was going to take this long. That was a mistake on my end. I should have realized that doing all this research was going to take a toll on my brain. So I went through a bunch of depth charts. What I wasn't able to do was identify like specific injuries. So there might be a time or 2 or 3 where I might mention a player who's injured. If that's the case, just ignore it. But for the most part, this does highlight the entirety of like their depth chart and how they play at that position. So it'll be kind of exciting to see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is VinDawg's Pac-12 Positional Power Ranking. We're going to get started with the quarterback position. At number 12, we have Stanford. Now, Stanford's 12 because Patu is their quarterback. He's completely unproven. He played last year. He completed 6 of 9 passes, but he's a very unproven quarterback. Like, that's just not enough of a sample size to know what he's capable of. I think you have to rank him last in the Pac-12 because there's just so many talented Pac-12 quarterbacks, and the ones above him have experience. So that's Stanford at number 12 for you. Number 11, Arizona State University. Now, Bourget has had some good games. Washington. But at the same time, he's also got a lot of turnovers. He's very inconsistent. Anytime he does have a big game, it's kind of overhauled by little mistakes and stuff like that. Not to mention, Arizona State's roster is not phenomenal, and he's going to be doing a lot of playing from behind, so his numbers might be inflated, but that also might lead to more turnovers. So I have Arizona State at number 11 in my quarterback power ranking. At number 10, I have Cal. Jackson was a transfer at he was a TCU. He went to TCU and he was the backup at TCU, and he transferred over here to Cal. He's got a great running ability. He's very fast, but he's completely unproven as a starter. And I mentioned earlier that Cal roster is not fantastic, especially they have some big pickups. We'll get into that later. But at the end of the day, I just think that with all the talent you have in the Pac-12, it's just hard to put Cal outside, be better than number 10. So Cal's at number 10. At number 9, we have Arizona. Now that might come as a surprise because Delora wasn't bad at all last year. In fact, he was a top 5 quarterback last year. But at the same time, as talented as he is, there's just too many talented Pac-12 quarterbacks this year. I also just think that Delora had a really, really, really good year last year, and I think it's going to be very difficult for him to reach that level again. So we're going to put Delora and Arizona at number 9. At number 8, we have UCLA. Now, obviously, they got Moore, and he's the number 2, number 3 prospect in the nation, and he's finally going to get to play. He's a toss-up with Delora as far as whether I put him 9 or 8, but we're gonna go 8 here because there's so much hype around this guy that it's like you have to see what he's gonna be capable of. So I had to put him ahead. He's a 5-star, top 3 recruit. He's got plenty to prove. I'm really excited to see how he plays. I've seen drama recently that he's apparently like upset with his NIL deal. Boo hoo. At least you're getting paid. Just watched the Johnny Manziel documentary. That was fantastic. Just be happy you're getting paid, man. Stop making it a big deal. Go out and perform before all these rumors of, oh, I want to transfer, I'm not happy, pop up. Just go play and perform. We'll see how that goes. I got UCLA at number 8. Number 7, Colorado. Now, Sanders was fantastic at Jackson State University, like he really was, but everybody at Jackson State University was fantastic when you have Deion Sanders coaching an FCS team. So I'm very curious to see how Sanders is going to come into the Pac12 and FBS and see how he's going to perform. So it's hard to put him any better than 7. I know there's so much hype about this guy. Apparently he's having a phenomenal camp session. But at the end of the day, like, he's practicing against other Colorado players. We don't know how good these Colorado players are. We don't know how good he's going to be. So we got to put Sanders at 7. At 6, I'm going Oregon State. I think that I gotta get this right. Ukulele. I think that's how you say it. Ukulele. I think Ukulele is phenomenal. I thought he was great at Clemson. He made a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad throws, but at the same time, he's going into a great offensive line here at Oregon State, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. When this transfer first happened, everyone talked about it like, oh, they're getting a potential Heisman capable quarterback. And now it's just kind of that hype's kind of dying down. They're like, oh, but like, is he really all that good? Like, he makes bad throws, yada, yada, yada. I still think he's good enough to be number 6 here. You got to keep in mind there are 5 phenomenal Pac-12 quarterbacks we're about to get into. So I think he's the best among the others is the best way to label him. The best among the others, and I'm very excited to see him play. At number 5, I got Wazoo. I think Cam Ward is a dog. Well, technically he's the opposite of a dog. He's a cougar, but whatever. I think he's very good. He can do a lot with a little. You know what I mean? So even though I think Wazoo's got some good players there in that receiving core, he's able to really extend plays with his legs. He's able to make a lot of things happen, and I think that's really good for him. I think he had a great year last year. I think he can do even better this year, but it's hard to put him above the other Pac-12 quarterbacks. So I think he has a great spot there at 5. At number 4, I got Utah. Now, Cam Rising, he should be top 3. Like, I agree that he should be top 3. He had a phenomenal year last year. He was the Pac-12 championship MVP, but he ended up getting hurt. He got hurt in the bowl game, and who knows what an injury can do to your career. Who knows how he's going to bounce back from that. I'm hoping he bounces back well, but because of that uncertainty in the air, it's hard to put him anywhere better than 4. So Utah's at 4. At number 3, we're going to go Oregon. Bo Nix. Man, Bo Nix is a top quarterback. You know what he can do with his legs. He's unbelievable on the ground. He's got so many rushing touchdowns that it makes it easier for Bucky Irving. But, I think that there's a lot to improve with his throwing ability. I think his passing ability is not all the way there yet. And I think he can make a big step in the passing game this upcoming year. Until he makes that big step, we're going to put him at number 3. Number 2, the University of Washington. You know how hard it was for me to not put Penix at number 1, guys. I wanted to. But here's the reality. Even though Penix is a Heisman contender and he's got the best arm talent in college football, he's not the reigning Heisman winner. So that comes up to number 1 in the power rankings, USC, because they have the reigning Heisman champion in Caleb Williams. Now, do I think he's going to have the same year as last year? No, I don't. But at the same time, it's like he's the Heisman winner. You have no idea how the Heisman winner is going to play the next year. He might just go and win back-to-back Heisman. So it's impossible to not put him at number 1. So that's your quarterback rankings right there. Stanford at 12, ASU at 11, Cal at 10, Arizona at 9, UCLA 8, Colorado 7, Oregon State 6, Wazoo 5, Utah 4, Oregon 3, UW 2, and USC at 1. Let's get into the running back position, guys. Power ranking for the running back in the Pac-12. At number 12, we're going to go Colorado. McCaskill is very fast. Like, I've looked at his numbers, I've seen some tape. He's very fast, but he's pretty unproven. Speed can only really get you so far. We don't know what he's capable of in this Colorado offense. And there are other running backs that have definitely proven that they're, at least they can do something at the Pac-12 level. So at number 12, we're going Colorado. Number 11, we're going USC. I think Jones is an okay running back, but especially if you're going to take what he did last year, he has a lot more to prove, and it's really hard to put him above 11 at that point. So I think at USC, he's got that 11 ranking at running back. At number 10, we're going UCLA. Harden only had 11 rushes last year, so he's got a lot to prove. He's just, there's not much you can do with an 11 rush sample, but he's very talented and he has what it takes to be big time, but until we see it, it's hard to put him anywhere else. At number 9, we got Arizona State University. I think Scatterbo is phenomenal. He was the Big Sky MVP. He's very good. But at the same time, how is that going to translate to the Pac-12? How is that going to translate against some very good defenses? So it's hard to really put him anywhere better than number 9, but I got to give him, respect above the other 3, because at the end of the day, Big Sky MVP, that's a big deal. That's a phenomenal accomplishment. So I'm excited to watch him, and I'm hoping that he has a really good year and proves me wrong on this one. At number 8, I got Stanford. So their running back, Smith, he got hurt last year, but before he got injured, he was really good. I think he had in 30 carries, he had 206 yards and 3 touchdowns on 30 carries before getting hurt and out for the year. So there's obviously that question of how is he going to bounce back from injury? Is he going to be the same player? But if he plays at that level, he could be much, much better than number 8, and I'm hoping that he does. At number 7, we're going to go University of Washington. I love Cameron Davis, and I'm only doing this because I can't be biased. I just can't be biased here, even though maybe people think I am biased. But, Cam Davis at 7, I think makes sense with UW. He's very underrated scoring threat. I think he's going to have double-digit touchdowns again. Hopefully he gets to 1,000 yards. But he complements Penix so well that it's hard to really point out his individual talent, because it's more like, here's how he's able to help finish the drive for Penix, right? Penix is just such a leader of the conversation that, Cam Davis can only get so much of the hype, but I think he's going to be fantastic. He's much better than last year, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on him, so I'm excited to see what Cam Davis does. At number 6, we got Utah. Now, Jackson's a good running back. Last year, he was 6.8 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. I think he's good. I just think they're better running backs, and I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate those numbers next year, but I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. Number 5, Arizona. Wiley was phenomenal. He had a great campaign last year. He was a Pac-12 honorable mention. He had 6.8 yards per carry, 1,100 total yards, and 11 touchdowns. Those are great numbers. Hard to really compete with those numbers. I think he's definitely a top 5 Pac-12 running back, and I think he's going to prove it next year. Number 4, we got Wazoo. Now, I hate putting Wazoo up at anything, but Watson was really good. He's a Pac-12 honorable mention, just like Wiley. He's gonna be ready to step it up next year. His numbers weren't great, but I think that they're just gonna be vastly improved coming the 2023 season, especially with their schedule. They do not have a hard schedule. They play some pretty bad defenses. I think he's gonna rack it up. At number 3, we have Cal. I think Ott is a phenomenal young running back. 1,200 total yards last year and 11 touchdowns. So he's definitely capable of putting up big numbers. This Cal offense is kind of lacking all the talent in the world, but with Jackson at quarterback, you're going to be very run heavy, and Ott is a great player to have in that run heavy scheme of an offense. So I think he's going to be very good, and I think he's going to be a top 3 Pac-12 running back this year. At number 2 is going to be Oregon. Now, 2 and 1 were a toss-up, right? But I think I'm going to give Bucky Irving and Oregon the number 2 spot, because even though he was arguably the best running back last year, 6.8 yards per carry, almost 1,400 total yards, 8 touchdowns. I think a lot of his stats are just inflated because of how many tackles that UW missed against him last year. And because of that, that's why I kind of not going to give him the nod for one. But he's pretty incredible. If you watch his skill set, I mean, he's just able to juke like nobody else. He's incredibly shifty. So just having Bo Nix at quarterback, him at running back, you have such a powerful running threat that I think they're going to make waves. And I think Bucky Irving's going to be a top 2 running back next year. At number 1 in the running back power rankings, Oregon State University. Now, Damian Martinez was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year last year, and arguably, top 2 running back. Him and Bucky Irving were those guys. Damian Martinez has the entire O-line coming back next year, and he now knows the system beautifully. He's got a great quarterback. He's got something to prove. I think he's going to have a monster season, and I think he's going to prove that he's the best running back in the Pac-12. So that's my power rankings for running back. It's Colorado 12, USC 11, UCLA 10, Arizona State 9, Stanford 8, UW 7, Utah 6, Arizona 5, Wazoo 4, Cal 3, Oregon 2, and Oregon State University at the 1 spot. Perfect. Now let's get into the receiving corps. So I looked at the top 3 receivers for each team on the depth chart. Looked how they did last year. I watched a little bit of tape. I also just remember how some of them played, and so a lot of that is going into what these are. You could make the argument that many of these can be changed. But based on what I thought they're capable of this year, this is how my rankings are going to go. At number 12, we have Stanford. Humphreys is a pretty good receiver, but outside of him, they do not have a lot of talent at all. So it's hard to put them better than 12. Not to mention, I mean, they don't really have much of an answer at that quarterback position as we kind of got into. So I think that putting that receiving core at 12 is probably where they're going to produce among the Pac-12. At number 11, Arizona State University. Same thing. I mean, Badger can get you multiple 100-yard games. He did it last year. And Guillory was good in the FCS. He transferred into Arizona State. I don't know if I said that last name at all, but other than those two, not a lot of talent, and you still really don't know what you can get a full season out of them. So Arizona State at 11. At number 10, we have Washington State University. Williams, Sheffield, and Victor. They're all okay receivers, but nothing special out of them. I think Kim Ward's going to be doing a lot of movement with his legs to get these guys open. I think it's going to be a lot more improvising to make big plays rather than skill to make big plays. So it's hard to put them anywhere better than number 10. At number 9, we got UCLA, the Bruins. They've got Studevant. I think that's how you say it, Studevant. Now, Studevant is very good. He was a freshman All-American. He's going to ball out. He's going to do his thing. But other than him, I don't know anybody in that receiving room. I tried to kind of look into it, and I don't know. So I think that they just do not have the experience and the talent outside of Studevant to make a big plays happen, and that's why I'm putting UCLA at number 9. Number 8, Oregon State University. I think Gould is a good returner. Bolden's also a good returner. I think they're both going to be good receivers. But other than that, those are some big wild cards right there. You don't really know what you're getting out of it. So a lot of question marks. It's hard to put Oregon State better than number 8. Number 7, we got Cal. Obviously, they got Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is very good. But, what am I talking about? Sorry, that's not true at all. They don't have Travis Hunter. They have a different Hunter. Hunter is very good. He made preseason second team with Pac-12. They have Taj Davis. Go Dogs, baby. Come on. Taj Davis was really nice at UW. Big time, big play threat. So I think that will really help Cal's offense be a lot more explosive. But other than that, not a ton of talent. Not a ton of talent. God, I'm still up in my head that I said Travis Hunter. But whatever, we're getting there. Number 6 is Utah. And Utah has Vele. I think it's Vele. Vele's great. He's a Pac-12 honorable mention. I know he's going to be good. Parks and Matthews have potential to be very good. But you know what? Until we see them play, it's hard to know what they're going to do. So I think it's hard to put Utah better than 6. I think they're a top, middle of the pack team. I'm stumbling my words a lot. Middle of the pack team. And I think that they're going to play well. At number 5, now you have Colorado. So like I was saying, Travis Hunter, he's going to be phenomenal. He thinks he's going to somehow win the Heisman. I think he's full of baloney, but, whatever. Let him think what he wants. Horn Jr. is a very good receiver as well. He'll play alongside him. So I think Colorado can be pretty explosive, especially with Sanders at quarterback. But I mean, it's just they're weaker other than those two. And I'm very curious to see how their O-line will play and how that whole team will play. And I feel like it's going to be a lot of individualism rather than a team effort. So I don't really know if I can put Colorado better than 5. Number 4, you got Arizona. You have a McMillan that is not named Jalen. McMillan's good. He's a preseason honorable mention. Cohen is also very good. He was a finalist for the Blitnikoff Award. He had some good numbers as well. So I think Arizona's got some good receivers, and they just need to make sure that they can get the ball to him and, let their guys make plays. So that's why I got Arizona at number 4. Number 3, Oregon. Now, Troy Franklin, I don't know what there isn't to say about Troy Franklin. He's incredibly speedy, so he can make those big plays. He's going to be excellent for them. Holden and Johnson also have like the potential to be really good, but you never know with them, and it's hard to put them better than your 2-1 slots right here. So at number 2, you have USC. Dorian Singer, he's great. Rice and Williams are going to have big roles. You also got to keep in mind that Caleb Williams is throwing them the football. So they're all going to be very, very good this year. Whether their numbers indicate actual, what their talent is or not, they're going to put up big numbers. At the end of the day, that's what it really all comes down to. That, and if they can win football games, I think the two will come hand in hand. Hard to put USC anywhere but 2. And at number 1's obvious. It's the University of Washington. You have Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan. They're both top 5 receivers in the nation. Not let alone the Pac-12. I mean, they're both 1 and 2 in the Pac-12, if you ask me. But top 5 in the nation is pretty remarkable when you have a guy like Michael Penix Jr. throwing you the football. I think they're going to be incredible. Jalen Polk is also there in that 3 spot, and he's going to be phenomenal. They have Jeremy Bernard in there, who's going to be really good. He's been playing well in camp. I just think that there's way too much talent for these receivers to not do phenomenal. So those are your receiver power rankings right there. I'm just not going to keep repeating them. You guys can memorize them at that point. Offensive line ratings was kind of hard for me to figure out. I just went through each depth chart, looked at how those numbers were, looked at how the players played, what they did as a team, what awards they won, all that yada yada nonsense. And here's what I came up with. Number 12, you have Arizona State. Very weak offensive line, will have problems all year. At number 11, you got Colorado. Now, Brown was a good FCS transfer on that offensive line, but the rest of the line is no good. So I don't really know what Colorado is going to be able to do on the run game with their not very talented but very fast running back. And hopefully that, Sanders will have some protection, but I don't think he'll have a whole lot, and I think that is going to hold them down. Number 10, Stanford. Not a lot of talent outside of Bank at tackle. So Stanford's gonna have a lot of problems. Number 9, Wazoo. They got Hilborn and Gomez, and they are both very good, but nothing anywhere else. So they've got a lot to work on, and I think that that's gonna find them in trouble. Once again, it's gonna be Cam Ward extending plays for the most part. So I'm putting Wazoo right there at 9. At number 8, you got Oregon. Cornelius. Phenomenal transfer for them. Angelov was a phenomenal lineman, but then he got hurt last year, so we didn't really get to see him play. Very interested to see how he'll bounce back after injury, but if he's good, this line will be very good. So, because you don't know how he's going to bounce back, you have to put him at 8 because outside of that, they just don't have a great offensive line. At number 7, you got UCLA. Holstage is a great transfer. He was a Big Ten honorable mention. Clemens is also good, but other than that, they too need a lot of help. Especially with a young quarterback, it's just, things aren't going to work out in their favor as they want it to. At number 6, you got Cal. I think Cindric's a great lineman. Vaticani is also very good, but, they can only do so much on that offensive line. They're going to have to carry that group. Number 5, you got Arizona. Jordan Morgan, he's a stud. He was first team All Pac-12 last year. Savai Naea. I had to double check my notes there. Savai Naea. I think all my podcast is just like a meme of how bad I am at pronouncing these last names. But he was great. He was a freshman All-American. Baker's good. So they have good pieces on that offensive line, and you know what? That could really help out for some of those guys. Delora, that receiving core. Number 4, University of Washington. Fatanu is phenomenal. Rosengarten and Calipo will be good. I think they'll be great. Is it a little biased that I put them at 4? I'm going to say no. But at the end of the day, like, only time will tell. They were just so good last year that it's hard to see that they don't replicate that success. Especially with how fast Penix throws the ball and how good they are at mixing up the run game. Number 3, Utah. I think that Laumea is fantastic. 2-time all Pac-12 right there. They got Bills, who the Pac-12 honorable mention. Others are going to be able to step up in that offensive line. Utah at 3 makes a lot of sense to me, especially, they'll have Rising and a good receiving core. They're going to get the ball out quick. They're going to make a lot of big plays happen. Number 2, I got USC. So Justin Dish is an All-American. He's going to be very good. Pregnon and Kingston were both great last year, so I think they're going to come in and also play very well. USC's got a really good O-line to protect them, and that's probably part of the reason why Caleb Williams is so successful. Number 1, Oregon State University. The Oregon State University, ladies and gentlemen. Their entire O-line is going to be back from last year. I think I've mentioned this like at least 8 times each episode I've done so far. Gray, Levingood, and Fuaga are all fantastic, and they're only going to be better. They've got depth. Like, I think that this is by far the best offensive line in the Pac-12, and I guess we'll see that come into play. All right, final three position groups here. At the defensive line position, number 12, USC. Their entire D-line is inexperienced and unproven, and it's hard to put them anywhere better than that. Number 11, Arizona. Not very good at all, just like USC. I think they're both 11 and 12, either or, but not great. Not a lot of talent. Number 10, you got Cal. Johnson's good. The rest of the defensive line, pretty inexperienced. Not going to make much with that. Number 9, UCLA. Toya is a good player, but nothing special other than him. Stanford, Bailey's great. He was a freshman All-American, and he's going to have to carry that D-line because you can only do so much with one guy unless you have a Jadeveon Clowney out there. And then we got at number 7, Arizona State. Now, Cooper's good. They got a lot of transfers that can make an impact coming in, but hard to put them any better because there are a lot of good D-lines in the Pac-12. Number 6, Colorado. So Payne and Cokes are good. Dominic is solid. I think they're a very middle-of-the-pack defensive line. And so Colorado, obviously, they're bringing in a lot of new faces, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they actually end up playing. Number 5, Oregon State University. They got Lolo Hea, I believe is how you say his name, Lolo Hea and Rawls. They were both Pac-12 honorable mentions, so they're gonna carry the load for the most part on that defensive line. Let's see here. At number 4, you got Oregon. Dorless is great. He was second team Pac-12. And then, I mean, they had a guy who was very good. He got injured. Let's see, all of I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it, but they have someone that's very good who got injured, and if he comes back strong, he's gonna be really, really good. But like I said, hard to really gauge how it's gonna be after an injury, so it's hard to put him better than 4. Number 3, Wazoo. Wazoo at 3, and I gotta give him respect here because Jackson and Stone Jr. they were both second team Pac-12. And they also have Malini, and he's going to be good. So I think they got a top 3 D-line for sure. Number 2, you got Utah. They got Peppa. Peppa was first team Pac-12. Junior Tafuna, second team Pac-12. Ellis was a Pac-12 honorable mention. So they got a lot of dogs, and I think that defensive line is going to be great. They deserve that 2 spot. In number 1, you got the University of Washington. They got ZTF, former All-American, 2022 Pac-12 honors right there. Braylon Trice, obviously, 2022 All-American. I think those guys are going to combine to be one of the greatest defensive line units in college football. Linebacker position. At 12, you got Stanford. Nobody's really all that good at Stanford. Wazoo, they got Richardson, but that's kind of all. Oregon, at 10, they have Masai Funa. He's good. Otherwise, everyone's like, okay. They're okay. Number 9, you got Oregon State University. Now, Stover is Pac-12 honorable mention, so he could come out and make an impact. And the rest of the linebackers are pretty inexperienced, but, it is Oregon State. They did lose their best tackling linebacker, but I think a lot of guys are going to come in and step up because that's what that defense does. Number 8, Arizona. Flo was good. He was preseason Pac-12 honorable mention. Manu has shown potential, so he could be good, but otherwise, hard to put him any better than 7, or than 8. Sorry. At number 7, you got Colorado. Kennedy was great, and Bentley's a good transfer, so they got some good linebackers that are gonna be playing. But outside of that, like I said, hard to see what they got going for them. Number 6, UW. I think Ulo Foshio, saying that right. He was a preseason Pac-12 second team. Tupatala is also really good. But that linebacker core had some trouble tackling last year, and I'm hoping they'll be improved this year. But it's hard to put them much better because there's some really good linebacker cores in the Pac-12. Number 5, you have Cal. Jackson Thurman, he was all Pac-12 first team preseason, so he's gonna clearly, lead that charge. And sometimes when you have one dog out there at linebacker, that's really all you need. So we're putting Cal at 5. Arizona State University at 4. Mitchell's a great transfer. Brown can be great, so they got some guys there. USC is at number 3. They got Mason Coblo. He's a phenomenal transfer. He was a Big 12 second team. Gentry is also good, so they got a strong linebacker core there. At UCLA, Latu is the man. So UCLA gets that number 2 because Latu, my boy, he's their dog. He was first team Pac-12 comeback player of the year. He's going to be phenomenal. Muasa was also great. He was Pac-12 second team, so he's going to immediately have a big role too. I think that UCLA has one of the best linebacker cores out there. And if it wasn't for number 1, Utah, then they would, because Utah's got Corain Reed and Lander Barton, who are both fantastic. They're both award-winning linebackers. Hard to put them anywhere but number 1. And to wrap things up, we got our defensive back ranking. At number 12, Arizona, they stink. They stink. Arizona stinks on the defensive back end. At number 11, Stanford, they also stink. They also stink on the defensive back end. Number 10, Arizona State University. Terrence is good, but they stink otherwise. There's a lot of stinkers up here in the defensive back category. Number 9, Oregon. I thought Williams was a good transfer, but it's a lot of inexperience. Going to be very curious to see how that plays out. Number 8, Utah. Bishop is good. He was Pac-12 honorable mention. Outside of that, they don't have much talent. Number 7, Wazoo. Hicks is good. Other than that, defensive backs are okay. So, I think that Utah and Wazoo could be flipped around there, but that's what we're sticking with. Number 6, UCLA. Davies is a good player with a lot of depth, but they need a lot of experience. They got players, but they need experience. And I think that until they really prove themselves, it's hard to put them any higher. Number 5, University of Washington. Now, UW secondary was their biggest weakness for sure last year, and I think they've improved that a lot. Their cornerbacks are looking sharp. Their safeties are coming back strong. I think that they're good ranking at 5, and I'm hoping that they can even show out to be even better next year. I mean, UW is DBU after all, even though nobody talks about it. Everyone forgets the talent that UW brought into the NFL. But whatever, I'm not going to get into it. Number 4, Colorado. Travis Hunter again, man. I mean, he's a stud. He's super fast. He's super athletic. So not much he can't do. McClain, they got McClain. He's the number 1 cornerback prospect in the nation. So he's going to come in. He's going to make an impact. And then, Sanders at safety is going to lay some hit. I don't know if you guys have seen his highlight tape, but he murders people out there. So he's going to be very fun to watch. Number 3, we got Cal. Cal's got Jeremiah Irby, who's very good. McMorris and Woodson were both pretty good. So they have a very good secondary, and I think that they are very deserving of a top 3 ranking. Number 2, we got Oregon State. I mean, Keaton Oladipo was fantastic. Pac-12 first team. Cooper Jr. as well. So they've got some guys back there that are going to make an impact and prove why Oregon State had the best defense in the conference last year. And then at number 1, you have USC. I mean, Kalen Bollock is a first-team All-American. There's no arguing with that. He's going to lead that secondary to great heights, and that's why USC is deserving at that number 1. To wrap things up, we're going to go ahead and average out the rankings for the Pac-12 here. At number 12, and this is an average of 1 to 12 on where they rank, right? So 12, you're just abysmal, you're the worst of all time. And 1, you're fantastic. But no one got a 12 and no one got a 1, but we came close. You're going to be surprised at who is number 1. At number 12, you had Stanford with a 10.43 average ranking. Not great, but we knew they weren't going to be great. They just don't have talent all around, so it's hard to really expect them to be any better. At number 11, you have Arizona State University with 9.14. At number 10, you have the University of Arizona with a 7.71. And that's not even disrespectful to Arizona. It's just such a jump from Arizona State to Arizona at 11 and 10 that, it's hard to really put them otherwise. At number 9, you have Colorado with a 7.43. At number 8, UCLA with a 7.29. At number 7, Wazoo with a flat 7. Good for Wazoo. It's kind of what I expected, too. Number 6, Cal with a 6.29. That surprised me, but they do have a really good defense, and they got players that make plays. So, yeah, I think it's fair to put them at the number 6 spot with some of those position rankings that they got. Number 5, you have Oregon with a 5.57. At number 4 and 3 with a tie, you have Oregon State and USC with a 4.57. At number 2, you have Utah with a 4.29. And at number 1, drum roll please, you have University of Washington with a 3.71. So there you have it. UW average out to be the best team in the Pac-12 by position. There you go. I'm not doing a round of applause this time. I told myself I wouldn't do it today, and it's not going to happen. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for slugging with me as I went through those power rankings. I'm very excited. The year is coming close, boys and girls. The football season is among us. The sports season is among us. I'm really excited to actually be able to see some of our other UW sports make things happen because I love reporting on them. It's just all the talk is about football, so that's all I can really talk about at this point. Anyway, thank you for joining me on the VinDawg Pod. It's been a pleasure. I will see you all next Friday. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.